Ever wonder what it would be like to wake up 1,000 years ago? Forget what you've seen in movies. There are no cozy hobbit holes, no noble knights on white horses coming to the rescue. The reality of medieval life was brutal, a world that offered absolutely no mercy. It was a daily battle for survival against forces that were relentless and unforgiving. Think about it. No running water, no electricity, no antibiotics. Just you, your family, and the raw, untamed earth. A simple cut could mean a fatal infection. A bad harvest could mean starvation for your entire village. This wasn't a life of adventure. It was a life of pure endurance. So how did they do it? How did our ancestors wake up every single day and face a world that seemed determined to crush them? The answer is a testament to human resilience. It's a story of grit and ingenuity that's written into our very DNA. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on this harsh reality and uncover the secrets of how medieval people not only survived, but managed to build the foundations of the world we live in today. Let's start with the most fundamental struggle: food. For the vast majority of people, around 90%, life revolved around the agricultural calendar. They were peasants, serfs, tied to the land of a lord. Their existence was a cycle of plowing, sowing, and harvesting, all done with rudimentary tools and sheer muscle power. An ox, or a horse, if you were lucky, was your most advanced piece of technology. The work was backbreaking, from sunrise to sunset, 6 days a week. And what was the reward? A meager portion of the crops they grew. The rest went to the lord of the manor as rent and to the church as a tithe. A single failed harvest, whether from drought, flood, or pestilence, was a catastrophe. There were no government subsidies, no global supply chains to bail you out. Famine was a constant, looming threat. People would be forced to eat whatever they could find: tree bark, roots, even clay mixed with a little bit of flour. These periods, known as dearth times, were terrifyingly common. It's hard for us to imagine a hunger so profound that it drives you to eat things that are uneven food. Yet, this was the reality our ancestors faced and somehow survived. Their diet, even in good times, was monotonous and often insufficient. Forget juicy steaks and varied platters. The peasant diet consisted mainly, of course, dark bread made from barley or rye, and a thick porridge or stew known as pottage. Pottage was the original one-pot meal. Everything went in: grains, whatever vegetables were in season, like peas, beans, and onions. And maybe, just maybe, tiny scrap of bacon for flavor if the family owned a pig. Meat was a rare luxury, reserved for feast days or special occasions. Hunting in the Lord's forests was strictly forbidden, a crime punishable by mutilation or even death. Water was often contaminated, drawn from wells or rivers that were also used for waste disposal. So people drank what was known as small beer or ale, which was low in alcohol but safer than water because the brewing process killed most of the harmful bacteria. It wasn't about getting drunk. It was about staying hydrated without getting sick. Every single meal was a reminder of their precarious place in the world. Now, let's talk about health, or rather, the constant lack of it. Life was short. The average life expectancy was around 30 to 35 years old. This number is skewed by incredibly high infant and child mortality rates. It's estimated that up to half of all children died before the age of 5. Imagine the constant grief, the emotional toll of burying half of your children. Disease was rampant. Without any understanding of germ theory, sanitation was non-existent. People lived in close quarters with their animals, and waste was simply thrown into the street or a nearby river. This was a perfect breeding ground for diseases like dysentery, typhoid, cholera, and influenza. Then there was leprosy, a terrifying and stigmatizing disease that led to sufferers being cast out from society. Medical care was a blend of folk remedies, herbalism, and superstition. A local wise woman might have some knowledge of healing herbs, but for anything serious, you were out of luck. Doctors were only for the very wealthy, and even their treatments, like bloodletting, were often more harmful than helpful. A broken bone could leave you crippled for life. A toothache could lead to a fatal abscess. The world was filled with invisible enemies, and our ancestors had almost no defense against them. And then there was the violence. Medieval society was a patchwork of feudal loyalties, and conflict was a constant feature of life. While we romanticize knights in shining armor, the reality of warfare was brutal for the common person. Armies marching through the countryside would plunder villages, steal livestock, and burn crops, leaving devastation in their wake. Even in times of relative peace, life was not safe. Without a formal police force, law and order were haphazard. Banditry was common on the roads connecting towns. Disputes between neighbors could easily escalate into violent brawls. The justice system was harsh and unforgiving. Punishments were public and designed to be deterrents. Stocks, pillories, whippings, and hangings were common sights in town squares. This constant threat of violence, both from organized armies and from your fellow man, added another layer of stress to an already difficult existence. You had to be constantly vigilant, always aware of the potential dangers lurking around every corner. So, faced with hunger, disease, and violence, how did they cope? How did they find the strength to go on? The answer lies in two powerful forces: community and faith. In a world where an individual was incredibly vulnerable, the community was everything. Villages were tight-knit, and families were the core unit of survival. People depended on each other. They worked the fields together, shared tools, and helped each other during childbirth and sickness. If a family's barn burned down, the neighbors would help rebuild it. This sense of collective responsibility was not just a nice idea, it was an essential survival mechanism. Celebrations like weddings or harvest festivals were communal affairs, offering a precious temporary escape from the daily grind. These moments of shared joy, music, and dance were vital for morale. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was still reason to celebrate life. The second pillar of their endurance was faith. The church was the single most powerful institution in medieval Europe, its influence touching every aspect of life, from birth to death. The local church was the center of the village, not just for worship, but as a community hall, a marketplace, and even a place of refuge. Religion provided a framework for understanding their harsh world. The suffering they endured was seen not as random cruelty, but as a test of faith, a trial to be overcome to earn a reward in the afterlife. The promise of heaven gave meaning to their suffering and hope for a better existence beyond their earthly struggles. Religious festivals and holy days broke up the monotony of the year, providing structure and moments of spiritual reflection and communal gathering. While the church also wielded immense power and demanded much from the peasantry, it undeniably provided a powerful psychological anchor in a chaotic and merciless world. It gave them a reason to endure, a belief that their hardship had a purpose. Beyond community and faith, there was simple, rugged ingenuity. Our ancestors were masters of making do. Nothing was wasted. Old clothes were patched and repatched, then turned into rags, and finally used as fertilizer. Tools were painstakingly maintained and repaired because a new one was prohibitively expensive. They had a deep, practical knowledge of their natural environment. They knew which plants were edible, which had medicinal properties, and which woods were best for building or burning. This wasn't academic knowledge. It was survival knowledge, passed down through generations. They built their own homes. Typically one-room huts made of wattle and daba, mixture of woven sticks, mud, and straw with a thatched roof. These homes were dark, smoky from the central fire pit, and crowded, often shared with livestock in the winter to benefit from the animals' body heat. It sounds miserable to us, but it was shelter. It was a product of their own hands, a testament to their ability to create something from nothing. This life of endurance shaped the very character of medieval people. They were tough, pragmatic, and deeply resilient. They had to be. There was no room for sentimentality when your family's survival was on the line. They understood the rhythms of nature in a way we've completely lost. They knew the signs of changing weather, the habits of animals, and the cycles of the moon and stars. Their world was smaller, but their connection to it was deeper. They found joy in simple things: a good harvest, the birth of a healthy child, a sunny day after a week of rain. These weren't grand achievements, but in a world that gave so little, they were monumental victories. They lived with a constant awareness of their own mortality, which perhaps gave them a greater appreciation for the life they had, however difficult it was. When we look back at the medieval period, it's easy to focus on the grime, the poverty, and the brutality. And all of that is true. But to stop there is to miss the most important part of the story. The story of our ancestors is not just one of suffering. It's a story of incredible strength. It's about the power of community to hold people together in the face of disaster. It's about the power of faith to provide hope when all seems lost. And it's about the sheer, stubborn human will to survive, to adapt, and to build a future for the next generation, even when the present offers no mercy. The world they lived in gave them nothing, so they created everything themselves. Their endurance is our inheritance. It's a powerful reminder that we are descended from a long line of survivors. Thanks for watching. If you found this glimpse into the past fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more journeys into history. See you next time.